Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there, and I certainly appreciate you folks tuning in this evening as we focus specifically on Hurricane Hilary. That's all we're going to do in this video. We're not going to talk about what's going on in the Atlantic. We will figure that one out. A lot of things need to work itself out there in the main development region, and then we're watching a wave that can enter the Gulf of Mexico that could bring impacts to Texas, Mexico, the eastern side of Mexico. But we really need to figure out what's going on with Hurricane Hilary. It's a hurricane as of right now, but she's already began the beginning stages of weakening. We expect her to really weaken over the next couple of days as it pushes into colder waters off the coast of Southern California, which we know are there, and tropical systems do not like colder water. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to break down what she looks like right now, what she could look like over the next couple of days, what's driving this unusual track, because I know a lot of people just want the cut and dry information, but I think it's important to discuss what's driving such a rare track that's going to literally push maybe the first landfalling tropical storm since, I believe, 1939 into California. We got tropical storm watches up for Southern California. Some areas have never had tropical storm watches. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the impacts, talk about everything in this video for you folks. If you're tuning in, you're new from the Southwest, I appreciate you giving this channel a chance. We get very detailed. We pump out 2 videos a day. It's a family type atmosphere. We look out for one another. We pray for one another. It's a great atmosphere. So with that being said, you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. You guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over? As always, please put those in the comments below. Let's get rolling. So bang, here she is right on your screen. This is Hurricane Hilary. She was at her strongest that she is going to be this morning. I believe it reached all the way to 145 mile per hour hurricane. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe 150 mile per hour hurricane, but I believe right now she's at 130 miles per hour. Now, chances are by the time some of you folks are watching this video, it might be tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, and she might be 10, 20 miles per hour weaker than what she's at right now, because she is beginning to weaken as she's beginning to somewhat get into those colder sea surface temperatures that are just north of her. But right now, she's turning away still a major hurricane, which is a Category 3 or higher. That is what we consider a major hurricane. And yeah, still intact eye and high cloud tops, cold cloud tops, because they are high cloud tops, and definitely just living and breathing out there in the eastern Pacific. So we take a different look at Hilary. All right, this is satellite visibility. This site is called Zoom Earth. Basically, I like to view it like this. Zoom Earth is basically you're combining Google Maps with the National Hurricane Center, and this is what you get, and it's a beautiful thing to look at. It's really awesome. You can just interact with this. You can move it around, and this is where Hilary is right now. Still a 130 mile per hour Category 4 major hurricane. This is the Baja Peninsula right here. This is Mexico. This is Texas. We move a little bit further north. New Mexico, Arizona, Southern California. There's Las Vegas and Southern Nevada. And yeah, Hurricane Hilary turning away out there in the eastern Pacific. So as we get into 2 a.m. tonight, still expected to maintain that 130 mile per hour status. But as we are getting into tomorrow afternoon, might weaken into a 120 mile per hour storm. I don't think she'll weaken substantially over the next, I would say, 12 to 18 hours, but she will weaken. But I think really over the next just 2-day period in general, she is definitely going to lose some steam. As like I said multiple times, there's colder water temperatures up here. But by the time it gets, by the time we get into around Sunday afternoon, we'll weaken all the way to a 75 mile per hour, just weak Category 1 hurricane. But we got tropical storm warnings up for the southern areas of the Baja Peninsula. You move a little bit further up the coastline, hurricane warnings have been issued for the western coastline of the Baja Peninsula, Baja California. And then we got hurricane watches up for the northern portion. Then we get up to San Diego, Los Angeles. Tropical storm watches have been issued even further inland than what this is showing. Okay, what we do know, and we're pretty confident in, is that the worst impacts of Hilary is going to be on the east side of the storm. What does that mean? Well, everybody on the east side of this cone of uncertainty is pretty much land, right? So the worst part of the storm is basically going to thrash the Baja Peninsula, the Southwest, the desert Southwest. A lot of microclimates in Southern California, Arizona, because in some areas there's valleys, deserts, and some areas there's higher elevations. So you got mudslides to deal with, deserts getting a ton of rain when they typically don't see. It's very unusual. Typically we see these systems just head out into the eastern Pacific and eventually get into the central Pacific. Okay, but here we are. This is what we're dealing with. Pretty wild stuff. So when you look at the actual latest update from the National Hurricane Center, and we'll see if there's any new information on this. And this is the latest, okay, from 4:50 p.m. Pacific time, and it is still a 130-mile-per-hour hurricane. I believe this is hot off the press. So I'm in Eastern time, so it's around 7:56 p.m. Eastern time, so 3 hours behind me. We're at 4:50 Pacific time, I believe. So 130-mile-per-hour storm, moving northwest at around 12 miles per hour, so just medium speed, 948 millibar low pressure storm. She is still a major hurricane and very strong out here in the Eastern Pacific. So that's kind of an update on what she is right now. So what is driving this? What is a lot of people in California, Arizona, Nevada, even maybe Utah are wondering, why is this taking this unusual track? Well, there's something what we call an upper level low right here off the coast of California. And you see this blue blob right here. Think of this as, well, lower heights. Think of this as just an upper level low. It's basically an area that comes down and it has steering currents around this darker blue. So let's see if we can draw on this and try to make this make sense for you folks. So we got steering currents that come down here, and then it comes down here at the base of this upper level low, and then it comes like this, and then it begins to round this blob right here that's in orange. This is our ridge of high pressure. I don't know, obviously, if you notice, you walked outside in Texas and Oklahoma the entire summer, there has been a ridge of high pressure that has dominated the weather pattern. It's been very hot, terrible summer, hardly no rain. Today was blistering hot. It's still blistering hot out there right now this evening in Texas. That is this ridge. So basically, you have steering currents that goes around this upper level low and then comes up and then moves basically out the southwest to the northeast around this ridge of high pressure. So this right here, this blue blob down here, I know I'm using blob a lot, but think of this as just different functions out here that we're talking about. So we got Hilary down here, this dark blue area, this is Hilary. So what Hilary is going to do is Hilary is going to feel the currents on the southern and eastern base, basically, of this upper level low and get pulled basically between this upper level low and this ridge of high pressure, and basically going to get slingshotted. Not the center probably of the storm is going to go more so like this, but with this first arrow I drew, a lot of the moisture is going to get slung into this region right into here. Okay, so I know that's kind of everywhere. So the center likely going to get pulled right into here. Most of the moisture, because it's on the eastern side of the storm, is going to get yanked into this portion right into here. So I hope that makes sense. That's what's really steering it. We got, normally in blues, we call this a trough of low pressure, these upper level lows, a cutoff low, and typically the warmer colors you see on your screen with these heights and anomalies, this symbolizes a ridge of high pressure, which typically if you're under the influence of that, it's very hot, sinking air, stagnant air, lack of flow. So I hope that makes sense on kind of what's driving this. If this wasn't here, this upper level low, this would likely just carry on out into the Pacific and not bother anybody but the fishes. So that's what's going on. That's what's steering it. I hope that made sense. And if I get this back in motion, right, upper level low, and watch this in motion, it feels this upper level low and then it gets yanked. The forward speed of Hilary really picks up and then it gets slingshotted into Southern California. A lot of moisture associated with this. So another way to look at this is if you look at the browns, a lot of dry air. If you look at the greens, a lot of moist air. So we keep this in motion. That's Hilary right here, 986 millibar low pressure, sometime Sunday afternoon, much weaker storm, but still probably a hurricane. And look at the moisture getting basically sandwiched in between this ridge of high pressure, which typically is a lot of dry air right under the high pressure, this upper level low, which typically brings shear and dry air. And between this is basically an avenue for this rich moisture. Okay, and this basically gets thrown right into the desert southwest with the track of this low pressure, which is Hilary. So you ask, Mitch, how is this going to weaken so fast? I had somebody ask that in the comments. They just are adamant that, well, they didn't say this, but they just say they just don't understand how it's going to weaken so fast, basically. Well, Hilary is right here, sitting at 29 to 30 degrees Celsius water. Okay, if you convert that to Fahrenheit, that is temperatures in around the low 80s or so. I'm definitely not an expert in converting, doing a conversion between Celsius and from Celsius to Fahrenheit right off the top of my head, but I kind of got the general idea. Basically, in the warmer colors you see here, these are sea surface temperatures that are supportive for maintaining and even supporting strengthening of tropical systems. And this is where it is right now. But look how this substantially cuts off. You get into these sea surface temperatures in the mid-20s, that begins to drop to temperatures, sea surface temperatures, Fahrenheit-wise, into the 70s. But then you get way up here off the coast of Southern California, you get sea surface temperatures 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. That's in the 60s. That's cold. Water temperatures in the 60s is cold. I mean, it stays chilly off the coast of California. Okay, it's nothing compared to water temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico and off the coast of the Southeast. Nothing. Significantly cooler. It stays cool, even in the hottest time of summer. Okay, that's why Hilary substantially weakened. She does not like the cold water, and thankfully, that is why when most, in rare cases like this, when most tropical systems get pulled northward, they weaken very quickly. Okay, so we'll compare some model guides really quick, and we're not going to stay on this long because models are pretty honed in on what's going to happen here. We'll take a look at the GFS. Here comes Hilary right here, and it actually has Hilary really grinding the northern coastline of the Baja California, the Baja Peninsula, whatever you want to call it, and really just grinding up the coastline into Southern California, really hitting San Diego especially and Las Vegas, and really moves in. I mean, you're going to start to see the impacts as early as Sunday, but really makes a technical landfall as far as the center of low pressure sometime Monday night into the wee hours of the morning Monday. Hopefully I said that right. Sunday night into the wee hours of the morning for Monday. So, and then this moves inland, just brings a ton of moisture into California, Nevada, and I would say it's going to probably bring more moisture than what this is showing, even for extreme western areas of Arizona. And it's the same thing with the European model, guys. There's no different here. This is going to move in, and they're literally identical. They both grind up against the coastline. But the European has been consistent on this moving in much quicker. So this really just full-fledged moves in by midday, Sunday and the Sunday afternoon. This is already making landfall in Southern California as a sub 1,000 millibar low pressure, which is a tropical storm. So the Euro has been consistent on this moving in much quicker. Okay, this will bring impacts, very, very quickly as we move into the weekend. So as far as rainfall, from the excessive rainfall outlook, this is between now and the next 5 days. This goes all the way out until, basically all the way out until around Wednesday, August the 23rd. You see right here in the pink, that is at least a 70% chance of flash flood guidance being met in Southern California in this region right here. Remember, there's a lot of dry areas. There's deserts out here in Southern California, including the desert most people know, which is Death Valley. Okay, we got 2 pink areas. This could change. This could expand. This could broaden. Las Vegas, Los Angeles, pretty much you can say, San Diego, Yuma, Arizona. You guys are included in the 40% chance of flash flood guidance being met within 25 miles in any given location. Okay, and then the yellow, that's a 15% chance. Historic flash flooding expected. When I tell you guys that there's going to be more rainfall that falls in a 2-day span, there's going to be, let me say this right. So there's going to be more rainfall that falls in 2 days than there typically does in 1 year in these areas. In the yellow, that's 46 inches of rain predicted. And the orange, that's 6 to 10 inches of rain. And I know for our folks in the South, the Southeast, whatever, just in the Eastern U.S., you're thinking, well, that's just, you can get that in a weak tropical storm around here. Well, listen, things are much different in the Southwest if you're viewing and you're in the Southeast. So don't think that, this is nothing to really hype up or anything like that. This is really dangerous flooding. You got a lot of microclimates out here due to elevation, lower elevation, higher elevation, mountain ranges. You're going to have the threat for mudslides, a lot of runoff, because these areas are going to get more rainfall in a 48-hour period than they do in a year or two. I've heard somebody say on Twitter that some areas are projected to get more rain than they typically do in 2 years, in areas of Southern California. So this is a lot of rain, guys. This is dangerous. It really is. Basically, if you live between Los Angeles, San Diego, and Las Vegas, dangerous rainfall totals predicted. We look at the National Weather Service from San Diego, okay? And this was issued around, I believe, like 10 hours ago. So this might update, but I mean, I don't pretend to know every geographical location, every town and community in Southwest and Southern areas of California. But if you're tuning in, you're local, definitely check this out. I mean, this is a lot of rain for this area. Okay, Las Vegas up here, San Diego way down here. A lot of rain expected. Historic amounts of rain expected, guys. And a lot of people are wondering, what about the wind speeds? Well, it just depends on where the center of low pressure is. What we do know is the eastern side is going to have the most gustiest winds. So depending on where the center of low pressure is, for example, if center of low pressure kind of moves in like this, right? Okay, that means probably the worst of the winds will be in this little area. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. All right, if the center of low pressure moves in like this, worst of the winds will probably be in this area. Okay, so you kind of get the general theme, right? If somehow this gets way up here, then this would bring a lot of strong winds for LA, okay, and San Diego. So this would bring a lot of power outages. This would shift the rain axis further west also. So some things could happen, but a lot of model guidance has this really taking this track somewhat, okay? So that would bring most of the strong winds right over Southern California. So if we get this in motion, though, this is the blend of all models. It blends all model guidance together, and that was way too far. And it just brings a period of winds Sunday evening into Sunday night into Monday morning, of winds gusting anywhere from 30 to 40, 50 miles per hour. And I mean, you could have tropical storm force conditions in the deserts of Southern California. It's likely. It's likely. Okay. I mean, even getting into Las Vegas, 30, 40 mile per hour wind gusts, it's going to be wild. This has the potential to be, it is going to be historic, but it has the potential to be life threatening. So that's pretty much all I got. I'll continue to give you guys updates, but this is really starting to really, not move in technically now, but this will really start to take over this area over the next, I would say, once we get into Saturday, tomorrow, around this time tomorrow evening, this is really going to become a real thing for you folks in the Southwest. Stay safe out there. Stay tuned. I'll continue to keep you guys updated. God bless.